morning. This is the Fat Health Teacher, and what I wanted to do today is go ahead and share with you a resilience model. Now, this model was taught to me by Dennis Lobstein. He was my professor at NMHU. It doesn't look like he's written any books about this model, which kind of surprises me. I may have the E and the I reversed. I'm not 100%. Anyway, so that would be New Mexico Highlands University. The resilience model is and has definitely influenced how I view the world. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start at the bottom. So let me see here. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down some. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw this model out. Now, the best way to explain this model is that you are comparing a person to a plant. So here we have the ground. Okay. And I'm actually going to thin this out a little bit because it's a little thick. Let's see. Maybe shrink it? Shrink? Is that what I want to do? Okay. Let's see here. Alright, so we have the ground and the stuff that you were born with. So this is all of your hereditary stuff. These are going to be your roots, right? Which I think is pretty normal. So this is your heredity. This is your DNA. This is why you have hair the color you do, why you're so tall or not. This is everything that you cannot control. Okay? So there's no control over these items, at least not yet. And we're going to refer to this as nature. Okay? So nature is kind of what you come into the world having. And then from here, what we're going to do is we are actually going to put you in as a little plant, and you're basically a tomato plant. Okay? And tomatoes do not grow straight, so I'm going to draw it curvy. And tomatoes need support. Okay? Much like humans need support. If you have a baby and you just put the baby out in the woods, that baby's going to die. Okay? So you need support. So let's talk about the different types of support. The most common one, the one that everyone absolutely positively without a doubt understands, is family or home. Okay? And it doesn't have to be a big family. It doesn't even have to be your biological family. But these are the people who are supporting you unconditionally. Okay? The next support that you're going to have is going to be your peers. Okay? So this could also be your coworkers, people that you identify with. Okay? Next, you have school or work, depending on your age or where you are in life. And then finally, and I obviously did not put this in very well, you have your community. So this is going to be anything that you are participating in. It could be a church, it could be it could be a bowling league, any of those things. I used to participate in a volleyball club. That was part of my community, and I made some really good friends there. Now, as this person is growing, they are going to do best if they get some plant food. So we're going to go ahead and add that in here. So let's take a look. What color shall we make it? We'll make this orange. Alright, so the plant food looks like this. It's love, care, support, and value. Okay? Now, this is very important to remember. Love must be unconditional in order for it to do its best job. Okay? And that's not to say that unconditional love, but you're doing terrible things to the person is okay, because abuse is not going to be okay. But unconditional love, this is going to involve trust. Okay? You're going to show that you care for the person, like genuinely care for them, which means you are actually considering their feelings, that type of thing. You're supporting them. It does not have to be financial. And that you value them, right? So if you are in a relationship with someone, which would then become part of your family or home life, and the person just constantly is discounting anything that you're saying, then they obviously do not value you. But we want value, okay? And all of these things are going to increase success, okay? just like having all of these supports in places, these 4 pink supports are going to increase success. Okay? Now, for every support that is not available, the plant has to struggle that much harder in order to survive. So, if work or school isn't there, then that means they are relying more heavily on these 3. Okay? If community is not there, right? So people aren't talking to each other, they're not part of a church, they don't go out, they're a homebody, they're a hermit, whatever you want to call them, then these become even more important, and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, if a person doesn't have any of these supports, the likelihood that they're going to survive is very, 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 very low. It's not impossible, but it is incredibly unlikely. Okay, and here's what we want them to gain as they are going up. So the first one we want them to gain is responsibility. Okay, and 2 things. First, you got to own the actions. Okay, so that means that if I threw a ball and I hit somebody in the face, I threw the ball that hit somebody in the face. Like, that was my responsibility. That is something that I did. Okay? And finally, understanding that your actions impact others. And I can't remember which, I think it's effect. Okay? So 2 incredibly important things, and one of the first things that we're trying to instill in our people, in our families. Next, we want to see participation. So instead of just being on the sidelines, we want to see that the person is actively participating. This could be learning, this could be interacting, it could be playing sports, it could be playing music, it could be listening to things, but they are actively participating. They're not just kind of sitting there like a lump. All right. Probably one of my favorite anti-pot commercials was the Cocoon one, right? So you had the dude, and he's like, I don't know, like 16 or something, and he's smoking pot, and then you fast forward, and then you have the dude, but he's in a cocoon, and he's 40, and he's still in the same room, he's still in the same house, and he has still done nothing with his life. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. We want you to actively be participating, and you don't have to participate face to face. It can be online interactions. All right. So next, we want to see ownership. Okay. So you're taking pride in what you're doing, and I'm not talking about the pride that comes before the fall, but just pride. Like, you own what you're doing. You appreciate it. You want to make it good. Okay? And then the final thing is empowerment. This is your belief and your understanding that you can facilitate change. Okay? So if we are talking about empowerment, empowerment would be going out and voting because you think that your vote can actually make a difference. Empowerment would be saying, I'm in an abusive relationship and I need to get out, and finding the resources that you need in order to do that. Empowerment is, I don't like the kind of shape I'm in, so I need to get into better shape. These are all empowerment, and they're all very important. But much like Maslow's hierarchy, if you don't have something that's down here, if one of these is missing, okay, it's going to be hard to have any of the things that come above it. All right? So now, as the plant is growing, the person is going to be in flux between wellness and illness. And I'm just going to do a little dotted W here, if you can see it. And wellness would be everything is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Everything is aligned, everything is working. And so you would, if you did like an orbital thing, there are 7 aspects of wellness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's talk about what these are. These are the spices of life. Okay? And bear with me, I created this acronym because I was getting tested on it a lot in college, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget. Okay, so what are the spices? Well, these are all of the things that impact your wellness. They impact your ability to do all of this stuff down here. Okay? Now, this is your social, physical. Okay, physical is pretty normal, like you're getting the medical care that you need. You are eating things that are good for you most of the time. You are exercising, that kind of stuff. Um, Intellectual. You are engaged. You are learning. I know that when I'm learning, I actually feel a lot better than when I'm just sitting and not doing anything. Cultural is next. And these really aren't in any order. I just needed a mnemonic device in order to remember. So cultural is going to be all the traditions and customs that are a part of who you are. You have environmental. Okay. So do you have polluted water? Is it dangerous for you to participate in things? Like exactly what is going on. You have emotional, which is going to kind of be your ability to, I'm going to focus this more on, so this is your ability to cope, right? So something happens, it wasn't something that you wanted to happen, and now you are feeling better, okay? So the final one is probably the one that people tend to have them struggle the most with. This is your spiritual health, and this is just kind of your understanding of how the world works, okay? It does not have to be a god. It does not have to be a specific definition of anything. It could be science. It could be that you believe in a God or multiple gods or a female God or Jesus and the Lord or however it is that works for you. You can be agnostic, you can be atheist, whatever, but you're going to have some sort of kind of overall grasp of how the world works, and that is something that kind of gives you comfort. Okay? Um, so these are all going to overlap. So we have spices here. Spicees. Okay. So what is this whole model about? Let me scroll down here so I can talk to you about it. This whole thing is about having a resilient child. Somebody who is resilient. Now, a resilient person the resilience is all about being able to adapt or bounce back from change, right? So adapting to or bouncing back from change. This could also be stress, right? Change, good or bad, is stressful. So if it's a negative type of stress, we have distress, right? So this is the negative one. Or eustress, which is actually the one that's good for you. So eustress would be me going to the gym and exercising. And it's putting pressure on my body, but it's putting pressure on my body in a positive way, hopefully, so that I get into better shape. Let's go back to that grass analogy that I had used a while back. If somebody's resilient, so let's say we have our blades of grass here, okay, and a foot comes along, we'll draw our little toe, heel, all right, steps on the grass. So the foot's down, toe, heel, and the grass is here and it's smushed, right? If that grass is healthy, once that foot moves on, okay, that grass will bounce back up. Okay? And it'll be fine. Now, the more it gets walked on, the harder it is for this to stand up. So eventually what you might see is you see the foot, okay, and the blade of grass is kind of at the side, right? And the more it gets trampled, the lower and lower and lower it goes, until eventually it's just kind of mushed into the ground. Now, as each of these things happen, the more it's walked on, the more intervention it needs, okay? So this equals intervention is needed. Okay? And the more intervention is needed, the more it costs in time and money. All right? So if I had just maintained my health from college, I would not be spending the time and money that I'm having to spend right now to go to the doctor and to figure out what's wrong. Okay? Prevention is going to be much less expensive. And this is actually one of the reasons that I went into health education, because this is a lot less expensive in time and in money. Okay? If they're paying my salary and I am able to educate enough students to not get pregnant, then hopefully we're going to be spending less money on things to correct the problems, right? So if we can educate people so that they avoid addiction, then you're paying less money for rehab and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is the resilience model. As I said, this is created by Dr. Dennis Lobstein. He has moved on from New Mexico Highlands University. I have done some online research in an attempt to find him, but I have not had a whole lot of success so far. Um, so, yeah. Um, I hope that this allowed you to understand my perspective on how the world works. I hope that it gave you some insight. If you have a different model, I know that there are some models that focus only on three aspects of health, which is one of the reasons I don't do them. But I know that in the middle school health book that I used to use, it was social, physical, and emotional. And that was it. And it didn't really talk about any of the other things. But I think that we need to pay attention to all 7 areas if we want to maintain health. And you could say, well, physical incorporates environmental, and it also incorporates cultural, or social incorporates cultural, that kind of stuff. But I think that this is probably the best model I've ever seen. And I wish that it had taken off because I think it's fantastic. If you have a model that you'd like to share with me, please go ahead and comment or contact me via email. The best way to email me is going to be fathealthteacher@gmail. And bear with me if this is a rough recording because this is the first time I'm doing any kind of screen capture. I wasn't even sure that the program I use, which is Filmora, was able to do the screen capture. Alright, this is the Fat Health Teacher signing out. I wish you all a happy 4th of July. Thank you.